on there, YouTube? So, got the ramp truck kind of wrapped up for now. I'm waiting on some more air struts from Pro Air RC. I'm going to try to double up the rear, see if that helps lift the load. So, in the meantime, I cleaned the shop and started organizing my parts again since I made such a mess. And I figure I need to start looking at this RatRod build. So, this is the resin cast version of Nightcrawler's 3D's two-door sedan, and it was defective. He sent it to me for free, just for scrap. I chopped about, I don't remember how much, half an inch, 3/4 inch off the bottom of it, and then there was a little video a while back we chopped the top, and I scored the deal on this pair of tracks on eBay a while ago, and yeah. So I'm looking at putting all this together. I've got just about everything I need. I'm going to use this motor. It just fits too well. This was the one I had for the gasser. The gasser build has stalled. So we're just going to use what we got because I'm inspired to do this right now. And you just got to follow the build and see where it takes us. I'm not sure about the running boards yet. Just laid it out here to kind of mock it up. I'm looking at starting chassis fabrication. So I've got the body, I've got the engine transmission, I've got front axle, shocks, rear axle, tracks, tires. I got everything except the frame. So it shouldn't take us a whole lot to get this thing as a roller. But yeah. So I've got my mock-up chassis here. This one is off a little bit. It was one I tried to do on the that green sand scorcher body that I'd started doing last year and just never, it kind of fell apart too. That chassis isn't perfectly square. It didn't come out very well, but I use it for mock-up and just kind of get an idea of what I'm going to do. I did something different on this front axle. I used some King Holler parts, Tamiya, to mount the shocks in this direction. So I think I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to make a shock mount on the front of each frame rail, and we'll have them mount back at an angle beside the grill. And I think it'll be pretty cool. I've got an idea, good visualization of what it's going to look like. So I've got just about everything figured out. I don't know about rear suspension yet. With these tracks, right now the body is, in the rear is about 1/4 inch off the ground, and it is all the way down on the axle. Like the cutouts I made on the side for the axle to stick through, that's pretty much all the way up. I have considered not having any rear suspension. It would make things a lot easier. I don't know that I like it though, because I like having some suspension. I know my farm truck build, it has a lot of movement, and it's very, very cool and slow-mo when you're watching driving videos of it. So I don't know yet. I don't want to keep a whole lot of ride height. This needs to be, if there was a smaller air ride set, I would put it on this for sure. We don't have room for all the servos and all that mess, so it's just going to be a static drop. Thinking about the fenders still. I'm not 100% sure. I did clean up the edges of them on the bandsaw. They were broken off of the original model kit. Those are off of a 1/8 scale Revell monogram 32 Roadster plastic model. Those came with my body from my very first RatRod build, and I've just kind of had a box full of all those spare parts, and I think they look pretty wicked on here. So we might see how to, I don't have a clue yet how I'm going to attach them or anything, but it's something to look into when we get the chassis all said and done. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing I'm doing here, I'm trying to find the length of my main chassis rail. This piece here, or using the 1/2 inch square tubing, I need it a little longer than this one, so I've got it marked here where it's going to step for the rear suspension and where our front shock mounts are going to go. Not sure yet if I'm going to angle the front shock mounts or what. Now, if you've seen my other builds, you know I take this 1/2 inch and then I split it down the middle. It's not a fun process. It's messy. It's uneven. Takes a lot of cleaning up, but there's just no C-channel steel available at 1/2 inch size. So we've got to make it because it looks right on for this. And I don't want to use aluminum because I mean, I don't have the means to weld aluminum, and the aluminum you buy at the store is so soft it would just melt pretty much anyway. screwing it all together, it's out of the question. So I'm set up to weld, so we're going to use steel. I've got it marked here. I'm going to start just kind of piecing it together, and then we'll kind of lay it out with the body and get an idea of what we're doing. Alright guys, so got that base piece cut. I cleaned up the edges. Ready to start marking stuff and doing the step. I think I've got this piece here. This is a leftover frame rail from my big red lowrider build. It was the very first attempt at a scratch built chassis, and it failed miserably. But I think I may use that. I'm going to chop it off here and chop it off here, and I'll use that elbow, and I'm going to weld it on to the new steel once I clean it up. And that'll give us the step for the rear axle, gives us some holes already, hopefully, that we can make a 4-link work with. Okay, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that whole step on the back. It's going to look cool being able to see it through the window. Hopefully, it's not too much cutting to get that in there. I may still chop it off short. We'll see. We'll take less for now just to see. But I've got everything lined up here on this crack in my scale shop floor. So my motor mount is right on there. I've marked where the motor mount needs to be centered. I've marked here where our radius arm mount is going to be. And I've already got this front end put together. I'm going to roll with the wheelbase that it's got. And yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and drill that hole and cut this down, clean it up, and then we'll get it on the bench and start clamping everything down and getting ready to weld it. And yeah, I still need to cut a piece for the front. I was looking through my scrap. I'm not sure yet how high the shock mount needs to be. Thinking maybe 1.25 inches. So we'll figure that out when we get there. I'm going to go ahead and chop that piece up, and we'll get it cleaned up and ready to go. I got just about everything cut. It's time to look at where things need to be, where we need to drill some holes while the rails are still together. There's our main piece. We've got our front shock mount. This piece already had a hole drilled in it. It looked pretty good, so I'm just going to roll with it. Looks about the right height. Not sure if you can see where that is up there. We've got to drill a hole here for our suspension, our radius arm mounts. We've got our motor mount. That'll be right there. And our step, need to see roundabout. I've got the motor mount lined up with the crack on the floor. I've got the body about as far away from the motor, the back of the motor, as I think I want. And then I've got the axle lined up with the notch in the body here for the axle. So looks like we're actually going to have enough room for a decent little 4-link. This is drilled differently. One side's drilled all the way through. That one looks like it might work. So we'll go with that as our bottom mount, but we are going to have to drill a new top 4-link mount. And this isn't going to have a whole lot of lift. It's probably going to have a 1/4 inch of ride height, if not just a hair more. So, not sure if you can see that. That one's going to be pretty parallel. The other one, I think we should bring down just a hair. And I'm going to center it in the tubing, so it gives us a better, easier access, being right in the middle. Don't want to get too close to the edges. So I'm going to go drill that out on the drill press. Got it all welded up. Now the fun part is trying to cut it all in half. Last one I did, I think that was the RC 4-wheel drive giveaway build. I used the Makita with the cutoff disc on it. And it's messy. I had to do it outside. It came out decent. It's hard to keep that thing straight because it's got so much power. It's kind of walking away from you. I did get some more Dremel disc, but they do burn through very quickly. And I know I've talked to folks before about it, and y'all suggested just kind of scoring it and using the bandsaw. The bandsaw I've got is not strong enough. I put a new blade on it, and it's cutting great right now with aluminum and plastic, but it will not cut this steel quickly. And I could probably get through that part, and then my blade will be done. So yeah, not sure yet how I'm gonna do it, but that's the next step. We'll go ahead and chop this in half, and yeah, we can start looking at cross members and things like that. Mounting the motor. Really not a whole lot on this thing left to do. Making a 4-link. I do have a 4-link truss for that axle. All the RC 4-wheel drive ones are pretty much universal with the Yoda 2s, or K44s, stuff like that. I think I've got some of those in my links bin, so yeah, start looking at that stuff.
Perfect.
Alright guys, so chassis came out great actually. I'm pretty happy with that. I surprise myself every time I do one that they get better and better. It's just a mess in here now. I just cleaned the shop and now it's destroyed again, but that's how it goes. It's a very unique looking chassis. We've got our front shock mounts angled forward, motor mounts, rear step. I'm going to try to mock it up and see how it's going to work, because I don't want to weld any cross members just yet. I need to get my distances across set so it fits inside the front radius arms, and I'm going to have to space the back of the motor mounts. Get that all jiving right, and then we'll start looking at the rear suspension. So I moved the front radius arm mounts a little bit. I clamped the rails back together and drilled a hole about half an inch further forward. The shocks were going to be, they were too long to fit in there. So with that, it's they're going to need some adjustments on the springs, but I think the height's going to be all right. I just need to throw another spring on there because it's very springy. So got the motor mounted, and I can adjust the width of the frame right now. I had to use I think that's a 60 or 62 millimeter rod. I can't see what it is. Maybe shorter than that. And that pulled the frame rails in a little in the front because they were rubbing on the radius arms. I don't have any more spacers currently, so I think I used like some 6 or 8 mil spacers to motor mounts, and it was just a hair too wide. But we're just going to rock that for now. Looking at the 4-link right now, trying to do this as simply as possible. No idea about suspension yet. I hadn't even thought about rear suspension, but yeah, it's roughly lined up. I think where it's going to go, I may have to trim a little bit of the firewall of the cowl to clear the back of the motor, at least allow some room for that distributor. But yeah, liking it so far. Like usually we'll have to bend and weld a transmission cross member. I hate doing that, but because they got to weld close to the motor and transmission. I try to wrap it up as best I can, but there's really no way to get it all square and to stay right unless you have that mounted. I'll bend the piece, drill the holes, mount it, and then I'll come back in and weld it from the inside. I need to get some of that, that leather. I use my gloves usually. I'll lay my gloves over the motor to help protect it, but yeah, I don't want to mess up my pretty engine. So, not sure where steering and stuff. Ideally, I would like to use this shock mount to mount the grill as well, because right now it's making the grill set too far forward. I think once the time comes, we'll actually drill some holes in this and mount it from that. And I'm hoping to hide the servo out front somewhere as well with the grill. I'm not sure yet how we'll do all that. I do have a micro servo like I used on the RC 4-wheel drive build, on the nice JD models. Nice, quiet, smooth micro servos. But yeah, not sure about that yet. I do have one issue. Where my shocks are mounted are interfering with the steering arms. It's going to be right in the way. So yeah, got some more thinking to do about this. But I'm going to get a 4-link mocked up and try to get this thing kind of roller. Alright guys, so I got the 4-link mocked up. I just had an idea for the front, since my shocks are non-cooperative. I didn't like the stretch, so I'm going to move the lower links back to the other hole. Now I'm going to move the front mount around to the front of the axle, and that should keep it about the same angle, but it'll shorten my wheelbase a little bit. It was already long enough, and I wasn't real happy with having to go longer, so I'm going to flop that around real quick and we'll see what that looks like. Alright guys, so I've been making some good progress here. Lots of little things. I moved the axle back. I flipped the shock mounts to the front side of the front axle. So they're still at a little steep of an angle, but I think we throw some more springs on there, it'll actually pick it up and keep it at a reasonable ride height. And by reasonable, I mean about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, somewhere in that ballpark. I do have the chassis braced now in 3 places. I put a rod between the upper link mounts. It's braced through the motor and it's braced on that front cross member. I've got to order spacers and hardware here pretty soon because I'm struggling. I scrounged around, found some stuff. I'm even running out of rod ends, all that. I know that pinion angle looks pretty severe, but it's very low here, so I think it's going to work. If we need to, I can throw a couple shims. I found some spacers that I can use to shim out the front. That's about all I've got left. What else? I was looking at rear shocks. I'm not sure yet what I want to do. Got these. They're close to the right height, but I'm out of time for today, so we're going to have to wrap up this part. I did notch the body for the distributor on the motor, and I am going to have to trim these up even higher. It's just going to be very sketchy, but I may have to support the body inside. Because right now it's sitting on the axle, and it's sitting at a good ride height. So, yeah. I really wish I could put the grill on there, but it just won't fit with that support bar right now, so I don't want to hack the grill up yet. I'm going to wait until I come up with a steering solution, and then we will move forward with the grill. But I'm not going to chop up my Awesome Designs grill just yet. I'm going to wait till we know for sure what we're doing. I still need to figure out a firewall. I need to make something. It's going to have to be recessed a little just because of how close the motor sits, but I want to do something. I'm thinking about metal accents on this, doing some copper maybe on the roof, or making a metal visor since that one's kind of busted up that was molded into the body. But I do need to make a firewall. But yeah, I'm happy with the wheelbase. I think that's going to look pretty cool. I have no idea how these fenders are going to attach yet. If they'll even work. Shocks are interfering with them a little bit. We may, I don't know, may have to do some brazing or something if I can get another torch, because mine's messed up. But I don't know, guys. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Check me out on Instagram for sneak peeks of what's coming, and keep it scale. I'll see y'all in the next video.